Welcome to the Gospel According to podcast, the first and only podcast looking at the intersection of pop culture and the Christian faith. I'm Dan Ulrich, joined as always by my co-host. You may know him as the guy who keeps sending you terrible trade requests. That's Dave Hallahan.
No, I would never. I respect my co-owners too much. If I'm giving you three guys and I'm only asking for one, obviously you're winning that deal, you know.
It depends on who the one is.
Okay, I guess.
Today we're looking at the Gospel According to fantasy football.
Fantasy football. Wow.
Dave, as we've spoken about, as you've been introed before, you are a former fantasy football champion.
It's true. But once a champ, always a champ. For those watching on YouTube, this is the mug this is the trophy that we play for. The Hind Bowl is our championship. We got even like our own little logo there at the bottom. There it is, coming into focus. So yeah, I've got a mug. I'm a mug owner. No one can take this away from me. Not even my wife, who tries to hide it in the garage or somewhere.
Tries to take it away from you.
Yeah.
But that says 2018 on it, Dave.
Well, I mean, you know, once a champ, always a champ.
So it's like the president. Once you're president, you're always called president.
Yes. And I think for like fans of football IRL, if you follow the NFL, you might know the Los Angeles Rams, who like sold all of their draft picks and like made this like super team, and they won the Super Bowl. And this year they have like one of the worst rosters in the NFL. Sometimes you just got to do what it takes to win a mug, and then you figure it out over the next couple of years. So,
are you saying that it's as hard to win a mug in your fantasy football league as it is to win the NFL Super Bowl?
Just based off of numbers, I can't make that claim because there's only 12 teams in the Dynasty Football League that I'm in, whereas there are 30 NFL teams. So just statistically speaking, that would be false.
Right.
But it is hard. It's hard, I think.
So have you drafted your team this year?
Yes, we have done the draft already. So it is a dynasty league. We don't have to get into all the details, but basically that means that you keep the same roster year to year. And so when we draft, we just draft rookies, NFL rookies, to our team. So we actually do our draft pretty early. I think the NFL draft is like in April. And so we draft by like June, which is early compared to most fantasy leagues.
How's the team looking?
We are poised to make a return to contention in the next year or two. That's how we're looking. So I won in 2018, and then I tried to hang on for 4 more years to no avail, no more mugs. And so I finally decided to ship it in this year. We traded a bunch of our older players for future assets. So we're in rebuilding mode.
So in rebuilding mode, has it taken a little bit of the luster away? Or do you like getting into the trades and, you know, finding stuff on the corners of trying to tweak for the future? Or are you kind of like just waiting for next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the draft process was still fun and enjoyable because, you know, there are teams looking to compete and I'm not necessarily one of them, but like I have pieces that can help them. So like all of the finagling trades, all of that is fun. Now that we're heading into the season, I do think it's going to like dial back some of the normal enthusiasm that is a part of it. But not to get too ahead of ourselves here, this league that I'm a part of, this is year 10, I think, that we've been doing it. And for those of you who have workplaces online, maybe you might be familiar with Slack, which is like a communications app. We have a Slack for the Fantasy Football League. And, you know, we have like private messages in there, but we also, it's become like a social group. Like we talk about all 4 of the major sports, but we also have like a TV and movies channel. And so the league has almost become secondary to, whereas like initially the league was the focus and like our Slack and our our hanging out, our friendship was kind of secondary. The like social aspect has kind of taken the foreground, and the league is kind of like the excuse we have for the social aspect now.
So you're all winners, and
We're all winners.
the
The
trophy is friendship.
yes, the true mug is the friends we made along the way.
Very good.
Yes.
In the past, I joined fantasy leagues
Mhm.
for the friendship
Right.
aspect of it,
I'm
and then
sure you've been at a few drafts in my parents' basement, I would
yeah,
imagine. Yeah.
yep, and that quickly turned into, man, this is work.
Yes, yes.
Especially like fantasy baseball
Yeah.
is like, man, this is like a daily thing. This is
Mhm.
a chore. If you want to be good and you want to win, you have to be on the waiver wire. You have to be
Yeah.
picking and dropping players, setting up your team daily. And it was like, this is a part time job that I am not getting
Yeah.
paid for.
No, yeah, the grind is not for everyone, for sure, and, like, my fantasy sports playing has dialed back a ton since, like, I was in college or whatever. Um, I talking about, like, you have to be on the waiver wire, you have to I controversially won an NL. We were doing it was baseball. It was National League only at this point, and we did like a waiver wire, and it cleared. I forget exactly how it worked, but like I got the starting pitchers for the next day by like staying up till like 2 in the morning when they like when waivers would like clear, and like so I would get them before my opponent could, and so I ended up winning that way. And we made changes after that to how waivers were
Yeah.
processed, but
Yeah, respect the game, you know?
yeah, yeah,
It wasn't
for
against the
sure.
rules. Playing these, being a champion, do you
Yeah,
think that you would make a good NFL GM, general manager?
honestly, yes, and I feel like that is such like a, sports radio caller answer that, well, I play fantasy football, so of course I'm going to be good at this, and these guys don't know anything. But like I think what I've learned as I've gotten older in life is that people in elevated positions, we assume they got there because they are smart. And I've learned that that is not the case.
Right.
That our politicians are not smarter than the average person. They just are the average person in that position. Your CEOs, like they probably have something that they're really good at, but then they're elevated past their expertise. And I think sports GMs are the same way. I think like especially football, America and football both like have this myth of a meritocracy, like you get there by working hard, but that's not like you need to know somebody. And I
Yeah,
feel like the NFL is like the biggest like uh good boys club, and so or old boys club, what's the expression, I don't
I
know.
think it's good old
Good
boys.
old boys, it's the good old boys club. Um so yeah, I actually think that I think that the in tune fan probably has as much needed expertise and knowledge as the GM. There are like, finer details I'm sure that I would have to learn on
Right.
the job, but I do. I think I could do good. I think I could do
Yeah, I think there's I don't know if you're gonna I don't think you would do good. But
good.
I think that so part of what you're gleaning is true that there's the aspect, especially politics and any hierarchical structure, is that you get there by maybe making some promises, and so you set out to want to do the best job you can be and be uh, not be partial, to be open to everything, and you just can't be.
Yeah.
Like, if you get that high, you've made backroom deals, you've gotten friends that have paid favors and are looking for favors uh, back in that way. So that would definitely make it hard. But if you are an owner of an NFL team or heck, even an XFL team, Dave Hallahan's your guy.
Yeah, hit me up. Email tgatpod@gmail.com. And you might even get 2 for 1 if I can convince Dan to come along with me. So
I will, help run the team's, marketing and
Okay,
stuff.
there you go. I like it.
My big thing, I don't know if it's the Lions Stadium, but they do fan first concessions. Have you seen this?
No, no. What does that mean?
So it just means that they sell their food at a reasonable price.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
like, a
I
bottle
like
of
that.
water is, like, $2 instead of
Okay, yeah.
$7.
I do.
Nachos are, like, $3 instead of $10, and so something that a family can afford food when they go to your stadium.
I like that. I like that. That's the first thing we're doing. So any owners, be ready. You got to be willing to embrace the fans.
That's right. But, so Dave, are you saying that just because somebody has 1,000,000 followers on TikTok, that you shouldn't, live by all of their recommendations?
Yeah, I believe that is true.
They're not smart and, wonderful and perfect because of how many people follow them online?
Generally speaking, that is the case. If we're talking about Emily Kelly, you can believe everything she says about Taylor Swift. That is, she's earned that for sure.
Right. Right. Of course.
But everybody else,
All right, so we've gotten this other stuff out of the way. The real reason that we have you here, Dave, is because with football season approaching, it actually starts tonight.
yeah. As we record, it starts tonight. Yes,
Yeah. So football season is upon us, and we're both wearing our Eagles gear. Philadelphia Eagles, go Birds!
go
Uh,
birds.
and it's been hard. I feel like I can't wear uh, my Eagles shirt around. I
Mm-hmm.
can't be around uh, groups of people because they keep harassing me. I just want to support my local
Right.
football team, and I don't need to go in a dissertation with them because everyone keeps asking me, "What is the gospel according to fantasy football?"
Yeah, I mean, I told you about, the draft that we had back in whatever June or July, and then there is another league that I'm a part of where we start over every year. That is just with the church that I'm part of, and so at that draft and at both drafts, like everyone in between each pick, it was like, well, what's the gospel according to Cooper Cup? And I'm like, no, we're not. We can't do this for every player, all right? But for fantasy football, we can talk
Okay,
about talk about this, all right? The gospel according to fantasy football. And I do think that I alluded to at least one of the answers of what the gospel according to is, and that is the social aspect of the fantasy football league. I think um, speaking in generalities here, men have a harder time opening up and forming meaningful relationships with other men, especially into adult life. That can be hard for guys to do. And you need kind of like a stupid excuse to do that. And fantasy football is the perfect stupid excuse to do that. I've mentioned this, the Dynasty League, and it started as this dynasty football league, guys who we knew, uh, you know, kind of everyone knew someone in the league, but we didn't all necessarily know each other. But we had like three guys who kind of headlined it, and we picked people who we knew would be committed to the league. And as it has grown, really the social aspect really has become the thing. A guy just kind of for fun. Actually, I don't have to say a guy for this one because we've talked about Scott Lederer so much. It's like he's the third co-host, but just for fun, he made like a logo for the league, and then as some of the league mates were getting married and having kids, we printed the logo on like little binkies or pacifiers, and like we would give them to people as they had kids. We've collected money for guys in the league who have been in financial need for certain reasons, and we threw a baby shower for someone. So there's so many things outside of fantasy football that the league has become about, and to me that's really like what it is. And then even with the church one, like one of the reasons why we started it is for what I've already said, like guys have a hard time getting together. But last year we had 20 guys who were part of it. This year we're up to 30. And at the draft I was talking to a guy who has been coming to the church for just a couple of weeks, and He hasn't played fantasy sports in like 15 years, but he was like, I thought this would be a great way to meet people. And so it's just, I think it's a way to bring people together, a way. We've talked a lot about food, the way that Jesus would use food to bring people together. Well, have pizza, have wings, have a fantasy football draft, and get some people together. And it's a way to build a community.
So, what would you say to the people out there, the Aunt Ethels, that are saying that you are going against God's code, that you are gambling, that
Mm.
you are living in this fantasy world, that you are participating in this addictive activity, um, and you are leading people away. This new guy in your church, you're leading him away from the gospel because uh, because of your gambling, because of you not honoring God in supporting this fantasy that is not reality, Dave.
So, a story first before my answer. There was a guy, there is a guy at my church who came up to me one Sunday, and you know how like Facebook does that thing where it'll give you like suggested pages. And so if you have like if several of my friends like a page, it'll be like so and so likes this page, like you might be interested in this. Well, it
Hmm.
was either like DraftKings or FanDuel. It was like one of those like sports betting websites.
Not a
Uh,
sponsor.
Not a sponsor yet, um, but I I don't deny this. I follow one or both of them on Facebook. But like I was not even aware of that, but it showed up on his Facebook as a suggested thing because of me. And he's like, "I just wanted to let you I don't know if you even knew this that you follow this, but I was like, this can't be Dave." And like he was like so confused as to how this could be.
Right, that
And
you
I
would be a Christian and you would openly be promoting this sinful lifestyle.
Yes, yes. How could that happen? Um, and so I confessed my sin to him there, and I'm actually quitting fantasy football right now. No, um, I would say to that general statement that it takes some level of self-awareness because I don't want to dismiss it outright, though there is like part of the instinct in me is like, all right, relax, boomer. Um, but I do think that there are actual trappings when it comes to fantasy sports, when it comes to betting, gambling, whatever kind of involvement. And even if you're not putting a lot of money on it, it can, as you said earlier, take up a lot of time. And it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. So, is that really where you want to be spending your time? So, I think it takes a self awareness. And Paul says in First Corinthians 6 that all things are lawful, but not all things are edifying, not all things build up. And so you have to figure that out between you and God. Like, is this something that I can be a part of in a responsible way or not? Romans 14, another good passage where Paul is talking about meat sacrifice to idols. But what he says is each of you has to be convinced in your own mind because you have to give account to God. So I would say, Aunt Ethel, thank you for bringing that up. I will give account for my actions before God, and you will do the same thing. So I need to be fully convinced, and so do you. And we can disagree on that. And I'll make my case before God, and you'll make yours. But you don't have to answer for me, and I don't have to answer for you.
All right, I didn't need such a long answer. I got to get to bingo.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, yeah, and the train of thought that you were going into is kind of my idea of the gospel according to fantasy football. That um uh, Paul in Corinthians that's saying that not all things edify, and that for us that's a continual thing. There's this tension that we're living in this fallen world. There's lots of things that are seeking after our time, especially carrying around our phones. That there's so much addictive nature of consuming media and consuming just parts of our life that we have to be careful about these things not becoming an idol. That in and of itself, it might not be wrong. There's lots of things that are evil, but most things aren't in and of themselves are evil. They
Right.
become evil when we elevate them above Christ. you know, the money isn't the root of all evil. It's the love of money. It's putting money above God. It's putting money above our trust in the way we're living with God. And so we have to ask ourselves, is this activity, is this thing that I'm a part of, is it pushing me and my friends to be more Christ-like? Hebrews 10, that we're encouraging one another towards love and good deeds. Is that what it's leading us to? Is it being that place where we're finding community, where we're able to help each other out and to give to those that need, to share love with those that being in each other's life, that we can pray for someone, to be in maybe non-Christians lives, where when they go through a hard patch, that I we have that level of trust with them because of relationships that we've formed in these secondary activities like fantasy football or bingo or something else, where we can say, hey, it seems like you're having a hard time. Can I pray for you right now? Or is there something I can do to help with you? Or would you want to come to the men's retreat at my church this weekend? That we have to earn that level of trust in a relationship, and these secondary things can do that. But there's also the side where, is it taking me away from my duties as a Christian, as a father, as a husband? Is it taking me away from what God has for me? Can I glorify God in this activity? Or maybe am I glorifying God in that in this activity? And that's a lifeline tension, a lifelong tension that's going to be fantasy football or literally any other activity in our life
Right.
and
Yeah.
become an idol.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think because of certain sensitivities or whatever, like anything gambling adjacent might be like higher up on somebody's list. But like you said, it can literally be anything like, exercise or my kids' sports teams or, taking my kid to music lessons or my own music lessons or like whatever social groups I'm a part of. Like all of those things
Mhm.
are opportunities for me to honor Christ in the way that I'm involving myself in that activity. And they're also opportunities for me to ignore that I am a follower of Christ and, live counter to his ways. But again, that is between me and God. Like I have to figure that out. And not that there isn't a place for, you know, uh, friends and family to be like, hey, like this seems off to me. But we can't just go around judging. At the end of the day, I have to make that determination for myself, and you have to make that determination for yourself.
Good stuff. And so you can just link this episode in your Slack,
I
Dave,
will. I will share it.
so that they know, and they can stop harassing you,
Yes.
and get back to trades. Are you ready for the Bible breakdown?
Yes.
And here comes the breakdown.
All right.
Ooh.
For today's Bible breakdown, I'm going to have you, Dave, rate these Christian fantasy football names.
Okay.
So the world of fantasy football, for those of you that don't know, a lot of times you can come up with a name, and they can be funny, they can be punny, they can be serious. Do you remember any funny football or fantasy names that you have had for teams that are appropriate to share on this podcast?
Why would mine not be appropriate, Dan? Um,
Well, then just share them all, Dave, and we'll see.
I mean, I feel
I'm
like
just saying
almost.
you're. I'm just saying we have one explicit uh, episode,
Oh,
and that
that's true, and it
and that
was because of me.
is because of you. I'm
It was
just
my fault.
saying, I'm just
Yes.
putting that out there into the ethos.
You're not wrong, you're not wrong. I feel like all of them are kind of you had to be there. But my favorite, like or not my favorite, but like my go-to one, for just like generic leagues or whatever is Not Today Satan,
Mm,
which is also it's a good Christian one, letting
there you
people
go.
know, "Not today, Satan."
All right, so I'm going to give you this Christian fantasy football name, and
Okay.
listeners out there, feel free to use any of these.
Yep.
I didn't
Oh,
come up with all of them. I found them on Reddit or TikTok, so they're not all mine. But I want you to rate these, Dave. Uh,
okay.
you can give them a touchdown,
Okay.
which would be 7 proverbial points.
Uh-huh.
Field goal, if they're not as good, 3
Right.
points. Let's go extra point. Well, so touchdown will go 6,
Right.
field goal 3, extra point 1, or fumble
Oh, okay.
if they're just not good.
Yeah. They fumbled the bag.
Okay, so we can go
Yep.
6, 3, 1, fumble, or you can
Got
give
it.
them the names.
Okay.
All right, first one, mysterious plays. God
Oh,
works
yep.
in
In
mysterious
mysterious
plays.
plays. I like it.
Mhm.
Um, if you're okay, if you're on certain websites have like different rules and parameters on team names and how long they can be. But if
Okay,
you can put one in where you can get God works in mysterious plays, like get the whole thing in there, then I think that would be, I would call that a touchdown.
okay,
Uh, Mysterious plays, it took me a second to like figure out what we were doing there.
okay,
So for that, I'm going to bump it mysterious plays down to just an extra point.
okay. The shears of Delilah.
Mm. Um, that's a deep cut. Uh, let's see what I did there. Um, in like a said like church league, I'm gonna say again. I have different rating systems clearly for each answer. Um, I don't know that that's going to play to a general audience. I think actually to a general audience, that might even be a fumble. In
Okay.
a church league, I'll go field goal with that
All right, next, X's and O's Steen.
one. All right, I like that one. That made me laugh. And it will bring prosperity to your football
There you go.
team.
Yep,
So I'm just going full on touchdown for that one.
great. The unpardonable win.
Nice. Uh, yeah. I'll go field goal for that one. It's a field goal.
The next Christian fantasy football name. The Cardinals.
Um, I I like that a lot actually more than I probably should. I'm gonna. That's actually a touchdown. That's a touchdown.
TD Jukes.
TD jukes. Up. Is that how he gets from here to there by juking?
No,
TD?
that's just
No.
how he fakes someone out. Instead of TD Jakes, again, this might
Yes,
need to
yes,
be
yes.
in a Christian league, or you might need to have a, I don't know, can you put a picture as far as your like
You can.
team
Yep.
logo? All right, so
Yep.
put like TD Jakes with like a helmet on, maybe.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go field goal for that one.
The fattened Metcalf.
That's good. Okay, so this I like that. That is a touchdown. I think when we get to the Christian ones, I've felt most of the way like that's either like i- only going to play to a Christian audience or even like Joel Osteen, TD Jakes, they're pretty common names, but even like there's plenty of guys in like my church league who they probably don't know who those guys are. So they're like a little bit too deep cut. This one I think plays all the way around touchdown, the fat and Metcalf.
Gridiron sharpens iron.
That is a touchdown as well. I actually, for a little bit, and feel free to take this idea. I may never be able to bring it into fruition, but I was talking with a guy, Jay Newman, who was a guest on Thinking Out Loud, RIP, about starting a podcast called Gridiron Sharpens Gridiron, and it was going to be a faith and football podcast.
Hmm. Yeah, but it didn't start, and one of the reasons is because this is the only
Yes,
podcast that
the
looks
first
at
and only. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
So there's been maybe a few of them throughout history where people thought of an idea but never came to
Right.
fruition. All right,
Correct.
couple more. As for me and Mahomes, we will serve the Lord.
I like that. Another touchdown. Another touchdown.
Ecclesiastes.
Whew. Uh, I
Is that a little?
love the effort,
Is that a
but
stretch? Is that a little bit too of a stretch?
gonna say fumble. It's like when you're running back, like could have just gone down, but like fought for those extra yards and fumbles. I think that's what happens here.
Ecclesiastes. All right, last one, the sacrificial CD lamb.
Um, yep, another touchdown. Good job. Well done.
So let us know if you have any good Christian fantasy football names, or send us a screenshot if you're using any of these,
Yeah,
or which ones you have in your league. We will share them on our Instagram page. Dave, you want to play a game?
of course I do. Is it football?
It is a fantasy loser punishment game.
Mm-hmm.
So this has become really big, I'd say, in the last 2 years, maybe,
Yeah.
in popularity, where the first person in your league might get a mug that their spouse tries to hide,
Mm-hmm.
and the last person in the league might have to do some sort of punishment.
Right.
Does your league do anything for last place?
We do not. We have talked about it a lot. The argument against it is that in a dynasty league, there are times where it is actually beneficial to lose a year, and then you're
Mm,
getting punished for it. But
So you got to trust the process.
yeah,
to
so
Get all those. All right. So this is Christian based fantasy loser punishments that I came up with.
okay,
And I want you to tell me, I'll do this or sacrilegious. All right.
okay,
So some of these you need to tell me, no, this would play, this is good, or you could say, no, Dan, this is sacrilegious. Please do not have this as your punishment for your church
okay.
fantasy league. All right, first one. I'll do this or sacrilegious. The loser last place has to volunteer for the junior high all night event at church.
I mean, I'll do I'll do this between the two options. I'll
Yeah.
do this. Yeah.
I mean, obviously they would have to be vetted. They have to be a leader
Yes.
in the church, things like that. But
Yes.
if you're in good standing in the church, and the youth pastor might be in your league, that you are saying that you're going to,
I
of
do like it. Yes. Background checked, safe
course.
sanctuary, qualified, all of these things assumed. Yeah. I think that's a solid punishment.
All right, next one, Dave. Are you familiar with the IHOP challenge?
Yes. Um, lay
Yes.
it out for the people who aren't.
Okay, so the IHOP challenge has become, and there's been a Waffle House ones where you have to stay in an IHOP, the ones that are open 24 hours a day, or a diner or a Waffle House. And the only way that you can get out early, either you have to stay in there the whole 24 hours, or for every pancake you eat or waffle you eat, 1 hour is knocked off of your time.
Yes.
So if in the first hour you eat 24 pancakes, you can leave right away.
You're leaving. Yeah.
Or if you stay 12 hours and in those 12 hours you eat 12 pancakes. So this is the Christian IHOP challenge. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You have to drive to the International House of Prayer in Kansas City and spend 24 hours in the prayer room.
um, okay. I'm going to say sacrilegious. Don't do this. That's too far away. Um,
Maybe they live in Kansas City. I don't know.
yeah. No, I think even like the prayer room of your own church, I think it's a funny idea, but I think it might be bordering on sacrilegious. Certainly it's a bad idea. I think it's desecrates the intention of the prayer room.
Okay, so no Christian IHOP challenge. Got it. Next, again, this would be for a church league. You have to wear a full three-piece suit to church every Sunday for 2 months.
Love it. Yes, I'll do this.
And so, I mean, maybe you go to a church where everyone
That's
always
already
wears
happening.
suits,
Yeah.
so that wouldn't be fun. But
Well, I
you go
think
to
just reverse it. Like
okay,
I think if you go to a church where like everybody's in suits all the time, like you have to wear a football jersey for 2 months.
and
And like this
shorts
will
and
be
dry.
after season, yeah, like sandals, you have to stand out and look bad.
Okay, so that one plays. Next, again, this is in a church league. Maybe the youth pastor is in this league. The loser of the league has to drive the church van as their only transportation method for a whole month.
There's no way you get this past the board because of because of insurance reasons. Um, but generally speaking, I like the idea. I'm for the idea, and if you can get church approval for it, then I'll do this.
Okay. All right. Next one. You have to, the loser of the league has to read the entire New Testament out loud in one sitting on a live stream.
The entire New Testament
Yes. I
in
mean,
one sitting.
yes. Live stream it, YouTube,
Yeah,
Facebook, Instagram live, you sitting there reading the New Testament. Or I mean, pick something that
yeah.
you want. Genesis, Leviticus, pick something.
I like it. Let's do it.
Not sacrilegious, you'll do it.
I'll do it. Yes.
All right. Last one. This I think is a no-brainer. You have to the loser has to stand in a busy place. So, shopping center, if you live in a city, maybe in a downtown park or something, you have to stand there in a busy place until you raise enough money for a kid to go to summer camp.
Yeah. No brainer. Let's do it. Um, I think that's good. I've seen ones this year on like TikTok or whatever where guys who have lost, like they stand out, they kind of like panhandle for money, and they either have to like sing a song or they're playing like a kazoo or whatever, and it's like help me raise money for my league fees or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but I think yeah, like I think you can even twist that into it. Like the sign or whatever can say, "I lost my fantasy league. I have to raise money for this." Like you can just be explicit about why you're out there. And I think the person should have to perform in some way or another.
So dressed up or
Yeah,
sing
do
a
a
song
dance,
or whatever.
song, magic tricks, whatever, some sort of performance to earn this money.
All
I'll
right,
do this.
so those are our fantasy loser punishments. Again, let us know if you have a good one in your church league that you are doing. Any other thoughts on fantasy football, Dave? Any
No,
any
go get 'em.
hints or tips? People made it this far. Any little nuggets? You help edit a fantasy football
I do.
uh, podcast site. So, is there any? Just give them one little, maybe week, first week, 3 weeks, little tidbit that could help them win their league.
All right. I would say don't overreact to performances in the first couple of weeks. Let things shake out a little bit. You're probably not going to miss out on anything great like you think you're going to. Um, and specifically, I'll say with Jonathan Taylor, running back for the Indianapolis Colts, he's out for the first 4 weeks. None of the running backs on that roster are worth rostering in the meantime. They're not going to do it. Let somebody else, whatever, spend money or use their waiver wire for him.
So stay away from Colts running backs and don't overreact if Joe Burrow goes 0-3 and throws 6 interceptions.
Correct.
Do not cut him.
Yeah, do not do it.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, all of you T-gatters out there, for joining the Gospel According to podcast. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms that exist or have ever existed: Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Twitter, TikTok, X, YouTube, Yahoo Sports, at TGAT Podcast. Thank you for sharing the Gospel According to with your family, friends. And if you see that guy in a football jersey hanging out at IHOP for a long time eating pancakes, let him know about this podcast because he's going to be there for a while. He can probably get through a lot of season 2 while he's sitting there.
Yes. I was pretty confident that I could do this off the top. But all right.
I have the review in there too.
Oh, then I need to scroll down so I can actually see it. You can also send us a mailbag question on any of those socials or by emailing tgatpod@gmail.com or sneaking into Slack, and you can just private message me there and I'll be happy to answer your question. You can also do your part, make sure that you're doing your part in obeying the Great Commission by helping us spread the gospel. according to podcast. One great, easy, free,
It's free.
low time commitment way of doing that is leaving a 5-star rating and review, which is something that happened recently by apparently goes by the name Dump the Orange Trump. Sorry to get political here. But 5 stars, 3 clappy hands, and the review says creatively combining relevant topics with biblical perspective and lots of humor. So fun to listen. Well done, Dave and Dan. Well done to you, DTOT, as you're known on the streets. Thank you for that review. You can go and leave us a 5-star rating and review right now. You can do it right now, and then you will hear us read it next week on your favorite Hump Day podcast. This was the Gospel According to Fantasy Football. Did you see the Patrick Renna video where him and his family are like dancing to each song? Each
Maybe.
network song. It's a good one.
Yes. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
Wow.
And as we've introed you in the past, Dave, you are a former fantasy football champion.
Once a fantasy football champion, always a fantasy football champion.
So it's like president.
Yes.
You're always called president.
Yes, it's like that. Actually, I'm gonna just go get the mug right now, and
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna take it out in post. I'll just have had it, but I'll be right back. Why don't you give me the your fantasy football champ again? Generally speaking, that is the case. If we're talking about Emily Kelly, you can believe everything she says about Taylor Swift. She's earned that for sure.
Right. Right. Of course.
But everybody else. Relax, Boomer.
All right, I didn't need such a long answer. I got to get to bingo.